Hi guys, what's up?
Not much. How are you?
We want to ask all the questions, but we don't want to. Because you know.
I talk more than I think a lot of people talk. 'Cause I used to be a journalist, so I'm like, you guys gotta do your thing. I'll tell you.
Well,
I like your Taylor Swift shirt.
Okay, well then I'll start with, if you could describe season 2 in a Taylor Swift song, what would it be?
The Man.
oh yeah.
Isabel is, so the Taylor let me explain.
I was going to say, fill me in.
Okay, so The Man is a song by Taylor Swift, you might have heard of.
Who's Taylor Swift?
She was the musical guest on SNL last night.
Got it. All right.
God, I haven't seen it yet. Okay, anyway, the Man is a song that's about how she's like, if I was a man, I'd be the man.
I understand.
But
Right.
she's not, so she doesn't get to do all those things. And I think that Isabel's in that space moving into the season is sort of, she's very over the restraints and the disguises, and she's stepping into her own. I'm very proud of my Isabel.
Yeah.
It's like, one thing you've talked a lot about online is introducing marginalized characters, into Roswell. How important has that been, and what can we expect with that in season 2?
So here's the thing that's been interesting for me this season. We wanted to introduce characters with different body types. We wanted to introduce disabled characters. We literally put out a casting call that was in search of disabled actors, and we didn't get any. And I've realized that, like, I think that, when I was a journalist, I was looking to the showrunners and being like, why aren't you guys casting more diversely? And then I'm in this position and I'm like, I want to, but it starts actually before I get to these people. So it's like the complicated nature of it is that, we're moving quickly, right? So we've got a casting director, we've got to cast people who have a little bit of experience and presumably probably SAG actors, and what we're discovering is that at the agency level, at the representative level, people who have different body types and people who are disabled and a lot of sort of various levels of diversity aren't getting represented, so they're not getting in the room. They're not getting into the room, which I can't really do anything about. And so that's something that I've learned over the course of this season, and we're talking about how we can help change that. But it's been a lot harder than I thought it was going to be to populate our show with more diverse people. That said, we have a transgender character this season coming up. It's very important to me to continue to broaden our cast and our stories in that way. But it's harder than I thought it was going to be.
To piggyback off of that, apart from the cast, I know that it's also been important to build like the writing room and everything else, like from the ground up with diversity. And what lessons did you learn in season 1, and how did you expand that into like going and building the room for season 2, and just what stories and avenues you wanted to go down?
I mean, I think it's important. We know what stories we wanted to tell, so we started to seek out, like, can we get people that represent some of those stories? And I love our room, and our room is great about being open and trying to discuss all of these topics. It can be sticky and messy, right? And so we actually started the season saying, like, we're going to step in it. Someone might offend you by mistake. We're all coming from a good place. Let's try to, exactly. And so sometimes we'll create a storyline and say, like, is that if you represent something from the storyline, how is this weighing with you? You know what I mean? So we're constantly trying to put out something good. Yeah. Even if sometimes that story means that you have to add the bad to it, for drama reasons. But it's like we're trying to find that sweet spot of entertainment, but also being like, here's some interesting things to teach the world along the way.
We try to put the debates that we have in the writers' room, we try to put on screen. We try to, for example, we have Michael in a love triangle this season, and there's been a lot of questions as to whether that representation of a bisexual man in a love triangle is a negative representation. For me, I grew up with love triangles on TV, and I want to see a queer love triangle that has as much heart and as much nuance as Dawson and Joey and Pacey and Felicity and Noel and Ben.
Right.
And so we address that question on screen. We address Michael's questions about how his identity and his relationships intersect on screen.
Yes.
And I think it's working.
Right.
You've obviously been involved in fandom for a long time, and like the pressure from the originals, but like you don't play into fan service a lot with Roswell, and you're very vocal about like not doing a ship for the sake of a ship, and like and which I admire. I think that's great. But like, how hard is that to like stick to your guns, especially with the way social media is?
Hollier's not on social media. Hollier
It's
gets
easy
to
for
sleep
me.
at night. He spends time with his family. I sit and I read the comments.
I love following you. I think
Thank
you're great.
you. I really
And
appreciate that.
congratulations.
I feel like it's part of my job a little bit, like, and I love it. And I follow creators that I admire, and the fan service of it all is like, the thing is I know what I want to see as a fan, and it's not necessarily everybody happy.
Right. We have to be the first fans. We have to get each other
We have to
excited
love
about
what we're
that
watching.
story.
And so, for example, this season, Michael and Alex are not together, but they spend more time together on screen than they did last season. I mean, I think in the first 3 episodes, they spend more time together on screen than they did in all of last season.
Yes.
But there's tension, and it's complicated, and we cannot watch people holding hands and cuddling. Well, trust me, it's really gross. And so we're trying to give the audience what they want without giving them an ending. We don't want the show to be over, you know?
Yeah.
Let them invest in it. I think
I want 11 seasons of this show. I don't know who Max is.
He's dead.
He's dead, guys.
He's done.
I mean, I keep saying, like, it's very awkward that he's here.
So how involved are the actors in developing the characters?
They're not. They're puppets.
Just making sure.
I meant the monkey characters. They are. I mean, we have really good collaboration and really good conversations with our actors, and I've never been so confident in a group of people. They allow us to challenge them, and it's a real honor to write for them.
There's nothing that we've given them that they can't crush.
Yeah.
And so or nothing that, no matter who we pair them with, they still do that. So it frees us up to tell any story that we want.
Yeah.
We strengthen our stories.
Well, thank you for
Thank you
bringing
so
us
much.
so
Thank you.
excited about.